What is the best theater chain? Like the mainstream theater chains, like the Regals, the AMCs, and the Cinemarks. What would you say is the best across the board? Presentation and facilities and that whole thing.
I actually like AMC. The ones we have in our area anyway. There could be some worse scenarios for other people who are listening, but in our area we have 3 really solid AMCs that the presentation is always impeccable. This reserved seating thing is a little bit of an irritation because it causes extra lines, and really I don't care. I don't need the reserved seating. It's something it's not for me. I could care less. And it cuts down on the amount of seats in the auditorium, so tickets sell out really fast on certain things. And I had that problem earlier this year when I saw Phantom Thread. I barely got in there, and when I did get in, it was on the very front row, and my neck was craning upward to, so that kind of deal. But
and a lot of times it doesn't make sense. A lot of times, I mean, I would just go see my friend Dahmer with reserved seating. I walked in there were like 6 people in a 300-seat house. You got to impose it here.
I know, really. But I went to see Whitney a couple of weeks ago at an AMC theater, and no reserved seating, just a regular auditorium, and a really big auditorium with nice seats, and the projection was impeccable, and the sound was great. And for a movie like that has musical segments or whatever, you want the sound to be really impressive, and it was. I couldn't have been happier. This is really, I'm very impressed. So I generally like AMC.
AMC was an innovator. I mean, AMC they came up with the idea of the multiplex. They came up with the idea of cup holder armrests. They did, and they had their stubs. It wasn't called stubs; it was called Movie Watcher back in the day. But their rewards program before anybody else came out with one, and it was. The founder of that, I think his name was Stan Durwood. He was a real innovator in theatrical exhibition, but and he would never have sold the company. But sure enough, not soon after he died, they sold it to the Wanda Group or someplace out of China. But I remember walking into a Cineplex Odeon once, and I'm sure I've been to some more often, like years ago, when they were a thing, and the place was. It's probably the best presentation I've ever seen outside of the Cinerama Dome in L.A. But the reason why I ask is because I have been so disappointed by the presentations in theaters lately. And when I went to see Mission Impossible 6, I was like, is this dark? I mean, did they not have that lamp on correctly?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd think that a big movie like that and a first glimpse that the audience in the area and critics in the area have seen the movie, it just seems dark, and the masking wasn't set right.
Ooh.
So it's even less work now, isn't it? When you're uploading it, shouldn't you at least be able to frame it right and light it right? Because you got less to do as a projectionist.
I wonder if some of the lighting problems. I wonder if some of the lighting problems come from switching back and forth between 3D and regular presentations, because the 3D is darker, less light on the screen. So I think they forget.
Well,
to
they've done
that.
They've done that forever too. I mean, that's a way to cut costs in theaters too, to lower the wattage of the light output. So the light, which costs a lot of money.
That's right.
Projector lamp has a longer life if you set it at a lower level. It looks like shit. I mean, it does.
Yeah.
And we used to have union projectionists back in the old days when we worked for Phil, and we used to have to thread. I can't do my old man voice, but when we used to walk barefoot in the snow to get to school every day, and they used to thread actual celluloid through the projector through a complex series of wheels and spokes. We used to have union projectionists that would come in and work on the projectors and make sure everybody was up to speed.
Stay up there.
Yeah. They were contracted employees. So I don't know if that's a thing now with the digital projectors.
No.
I don't think so either. And we didn't have union projectionists where I live, so I actually was a projectionist. I did it myself for a number of years.
Sure.
And so I got pretty adept at.
Well, I did it too, but we still had AMC still had a union guy that would come in once a month and make sure we were okay, with our equipment.
Oh, wow. I don't think we had that from what I recall, but maybe we did, and I just wasn't aware of it.
We had this. I mean, we had we had this one thing, this one projector. It was really the platters. That every movie that played on it would tangle up and break and fall on the floor, and it was like that particular platter was haunted or something. And so to freak out our boss one day, this was when I first started, we would take all the trailers, which we dozens and dozens of trailers, and we spliced them all together to do this elaborate prank. And so it looked like a whole 2-hour movie, the width of this film on the platter. And first thing in the morning, we'd take it and we walk across the lobby with it, and we drop it, and we just make it a mess of tangled celluloid. And our boss came in and he was like, "What the?" not knowing it was just trailers about one of the movies.
I have problems with all of them, really. I mean, they all have their pluses and minuses. I guess even though the Landmark near me has problems with sound bleed over, real big problems, I think. I just go with Landmark. I mean, I go with them because of their film selection mainly. Less because of their presentation quality, which I'm a big complainer about all of that stuff. So, but my worst problem is just people on their phones in the movie theater. I just find that so distracting and rude.
Yeah.
Today, I went to go see Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, which I thought was excellent. Not as great as I was hoping it would be, but and I was seriously thinking of going up and starting a fight with a guy because he would not get off his phone. It was constant.
Yeah.
And I went over and said something to him once, and he did not stick to it. I don't know. It was bad, but it gets me so angry. That's my least favorite thing going to the movies these days. Seeing the extra screens in the audience.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that either. And when I was at Whitney a couple of weeks ago, just like Adam, it was an hour and 45 minutes into the movie. So the movie has got 15, 20 minutes left, and this family walks in and sits right behind me, and they start fucking talking. Meanwhile, I've been watching this movie for an hour and 45 minutes, and I'm like, what the hell are you people doing in here? And, of course, I didn't say you people because I would have been kicked out of a movie like Whitney if I said you people.
It's true.
And then I love how condescending the projectionists are now because they know their stuff and nobody else could know it. But I had a problem with a Superman screening, and I walked out and I was like, "Can I talk to the projectionist?" And the projectionist, your aperture plate isn't pushed in all the way. You could see it on the screen. And he's like, "No, that's not what that is." I thought, all right, well, it's fucked up. So why don't you find out what it is? I just told you, but find out on your own and fix it. And he was just so incredibly condescending. But it doesn't take anything to frame a movie and make sure the aperture plate is in place and you're focused and all that shit. It's like a child should be able to do it.
Yeah.
Or to tell that it's wrong, just by looking at it. Oh, don't get me started.
Oh, yeah.
Right there with you. And we get them at press screenings, for crying out loud. We get people picking up the phones after they give their speech, and they even take the phones a lot of times before people coming in, but people sneak them in And we were at the Jurassic World screening a couple of weeks ago, and some guy picks his phone up and doesn't even try to conceal it.
Yeah.
He just holds it up above his head, and it's disturbing everybody. And it's almost like he's defying people to go report him. And of course, the guard.
Do you have those guys? Do you have those guys that come out front before the movie, though?
Yes.
And they
the
FBI and there's $50,000 fine and blah blah blah. They
We get that.
I'd never go in with. I just leave my cell phone in the car, and even when I go with my best friend, he always makes sure his watch is turned off because he's got one of those Apple things. It's common sense.
I don't carry a phone in at all. So.
No, you shouldn't. And if you can't be away from your phone for 2 hours, if you're that attached to your toys and you can't be away from it for 2 hours, you don't need to be freaking going to a movie.
Don't go to a movie. Just don't go.
It's very
Stay
simple.
Home.
It's not rocket science, people.
There's a lot of choices just staying at home.